So yesterday I went to a farm that has alpacas on it. And for many years, I always had this dream that someday I would have alpacas. And when I first met my twin and found out he had this huge farm, I told him I wanted alpacas. And one of the things, I mean, honestly, I really should have seen the red flags from the very beginning. Because from the very beginning, he seemed to suddenly develop an inferiority complex and do this BS of social stratification, of saying that I thought I was better than him, of saying I was higher class than him, just because I had achieved certain things in my life, and he really didn't care to try to achieve anything. I never looked at that as that made me a higher class. I looked at that as we came from the same background and I chose to try to make something of myself. But even to this day, that poverty mentality haunts me, and this is one thing I'm working on overcoming. So, one of the things that he said to me early on, when I mentioned the whole thing of alpacas, I'm never going to get alpacas because, they're very needy animals. And, if you don't treat them right, they'll just sit down right on the spot and refuse to eat and die. And this really did not strike me as right, because I'm like, well, if you mistreat anything, it's going to retaliate. And see, this should have been, this really, now in hindsight, I look at this was really foreshadowing events that were to come, especially with what happened yesterday. So yesterday, I'm at this alpaca farm. And this dream of mine that was always a someday dream, might happen maybe, finally blossomed. And I said, I'm going to have an alpaca farm. I'm going to surround myself with these utterly beautiful and amazing creatures. And I'm going to do it. And I'm talking to the owner at the farm. You can say he's the farmer. But he just started telling me anything and everything, because I asked the simple question of how do I get started. And because of all of my experience, recent experience with sheep farming, because my twin had a sheep farm, and I gained a lot of experience from that. And apparently I was a really good learner and listener, and I'm talking to this present farmer that owns these alpacas, and we're just comparing notes on the various processes of raising sheep and alpacas, and he's just thoroughly enjoying conversation with me. And then he just starts giving me all sorts of wisdom nuggets and bits and ideas on how to get started. It was really just an amazing exchange. And then he took me into the paddock where they had the baby alpacas, because this was an alpaca event that they were doing, where people could come out to the farm and see the alpacas. And my daughter wanted to see the alpacas, so I took her in there. And she's looking at them. And all of a sudden, I'm talking to this individual still, not even really paying attention, when I feel something touch my hand. This baby alpaca, he's like 6 months old, but he comes up to me and nudges my hand, and he wants to be petted. And according to this farmer and his wife, this is a very rare thing. Alpacas are normally very standoffish creatures, and they will only allow somebody to touch them if there is a very deep implicit trust that has been developed and bond that has been developed. So they don't just walk up to perfect strangers. The other odd thing is he came completely within my personal space. And alpacas, I guess, are really good at understanding the boundaries of personal space. And so they will always stay just outside of arm's length of a person. And this alpaca was right next to me, allowing me to stroke him Oh my gosh, they are so soft. They're just such beautiful creatures. And he's looking right into my eyes, and at some point I kneel slowly down because I don't want to feel like I'm above this alpaca. I want to put myself in a position of equality, and perhaps even a position of inferiority to him. I don't want him to feel threatened by me. I mean, obviously he came up to me, which was a big event in and of itself, but I wanted to make him feel more comfortable, so I knelt down. And we're pretty close to eye, but now I'm slightly shorter than him. And at one point, our foreheads are almost touching. I could feel his breath upon my lips. I entered with such a bond in this moment with this beautiful creature. Everybody is flabbergasted. Later, the farmer ends up telling me that if they ever see overly friendly behavior in alpacas, they're usually worried because this is a rogue alpaca and isn't going to work well within the herd. Later, as I'm thinking about this, I find myself really sad. And I perhaps realized the niche I would like to pursue with alpacas. And that is that here is this creature that has the ability to bond with humans in a way, I mean, it would be kind of like a horse or a cat or a dog. This highly intelligent creature, and yet they breed it for its wool. And nobody has ever taken time to breed these animals for sociability. So it occurred to me, what if I could breed alpacas for the social gene? And where would that go? So later that night, I'm back, because you see, I keep vacillating in this state where one moment I'm happy and the next moment thoughts of my twin keep coming back into my head. Thoughts about various different things, from either a loving moment that we actually did share, or of the thought or of the fights that we've had. But quite often it just always comes back to some loving moment. And it just, like, I feel like it tortures me because it's almost like it's telling me that my feelings don't matter. Because I'm not allowed to really think about these things that hurt me. I keep coming back to these loving moments as if I'm saying that, oh, it's okay what you did. And this is what I felt like my mind was doing to me. It kept exonerating him over and over, and this other part of me is standing there dying. I mean, literally, this is like me watching myself as the devil and the angel. It's just bizarre. So last night I'm back in this mode. After a brutal week where my twin and all of his friends, or his alter egos, because there was both, just skewered me repeatedly. Nobody should have to stand up to this. And I don't understand how this could possibly be love. I have reached the end of my rope in being able to try to find anything loving about this. I don't want to keep coming back to the idea that this person is meant to be in a loving relationship with me. I don't want to keep sitting there saying he's hurt. He has all these things that he needs to work through. I don't want to do this anymore. I really, at this point, wish that something would just happen to him. Something would just kill him. Because I could see the benefit of us interacting astrally, and it seems like we have a pretty good dynamic that way. If anything else, I have learned a lot from everything that he has shown me, and I have decided to do something different. But I can't abide by this part of him that keeps coming to me begging for attention, and then turns right around and slaps me. I can't do it anymore. In other videos of this week, I was talking about the influence of cannabis and the spirit of cannabis trying to teach me a lesson. And I might post those videos someday, because I never did quite reach a resolution. But I don't get it. But this alpaca came up to me yesterday. And as if resolving that moment from 1 year before when I talked about the alpaca farm and my ex-twin, I need to just refer to him as my ex-twin. Or he was that catalyst or whatever. So, alpaca comes to me last night when I'm in the throes of one of these moments where I just feel like I'm being tortured. And now, side by side, suddenly alpaca will come and his face is just right here in my mind's eye. And just pushes everything else aside, and I'm just focusing on his beautiful face. And all of a sudden, the scene of my twin comes and pushes the alpaca out of the way. And they keep doing this. And then I'll like see the alpaca further away, because maybe I decide to just start focusing on this scene with my twin, because they're getting more loving, more... They're memories of our more intimate times together. And alpaca now is looking at me, and he's almost pouting. Like, you need to stop this. You need to stop allowing this to happen. Look, I'm right here. You need to choose me. And I'm like, but I want to choose you. Everything I try to push this away will not push it away. What do I do to choose you? I'm going to stop this video and start another one.